welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher.
So let's jump right into it.
We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is good, YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and thank you for joining me for another video here on the channel. Today, of course, I'm going to be answering some questions out there in the community. A bunch of you have sent me some really awesome questions that I want to address here on the channel. But before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel, we are almost at 6,000. I think we're just over 80 subs away from getting to that mark, and you guys know once we hit it, I'm giving away that awesome Hulk versus Wolverine statue. I cannot wait. And of course, if you are a channel member, I cannot thank you enough. We are giving away that awesome original art of Spider-Man swinging through New York City. I really appreciate you guys. With that said, let's get into these questions. Our first question comes from Quasi_terrible. Here's another question for you. Do you think Valiant Comics will ever be worth anything? Even their major keys, like the first appearance of Ninjak, is only worth like $50 in a CGC 9.8. Well, the short answer is no, unfortunately. Unless you grew up with these characters, consistently reading them, and I don't think there are a ton of people out there who did. There's really nothing pushing these books forward in the future. Maybe somebody out there, an independent company, might develop something for one of these characters in the future. I don't know, but for right now, I don't see any chance that these books really go up in value. Next up, from Treasury Edition 8264. Always love your channel. A question. A year ago, you posted a video titled Comics I'm Always Buying, and I was wondering whether this category of books evolves over time. In other words, are there new comics that have risen in your priorities that you'll always pick up at a good price, or maybe any of those books that you might feel differently about now? I realize the ones you named are all evergreen keys, but I'm just curious. Thanks. Appreciate the question, bud. So for me, it's just books that I've always been drawn to. The cover art mostly, like I always mention, FF12, one of my favorite covers of all time. ASM 39, I probably owned about 10 to 15 copies in my lifetime. Iron Man 1 is another one. Books like that I'm just always drawn to, and I know off the top of my head what they're currently worth. That's a big thing. Like, I'm always searching to see if these books have gone up or down in price, what the current valuations are at most grades, so I know if I see them in the wild that what I should be paying for them, right? And I'm always trying to get deals on these books. I'm never trying to overspend, but if I find them in a good deal, it's a book I'll always snag, because I know for the most part it's a book I'll always want to own in my collection, and I know it's always worth something. The books rarely ever change. Back, 2016, 2017, I was picking up a lot more books because I knew with MCU speculation, certain characters that could be used in future films, and books that I frankly never owned before, I wanted to add those books to my collection. Now, unfortunately, where I am in my collecting journey, if I could find a book that's like 25% off, which I think is a good deal on a book that I want to own, yes, I'm always willing to pull the trigger on it if I have the cash at the time. But these, books that I have in that genre of books I always want to buy is because those are books I'm attracted to, not just for the artwork, of course, the cover art, but the stories, books that are near and dear to me. That's what I mean, the books that I'm always buying. I hope this helps. Here's a great question from JMills181. Great video. Here's one more. 4.5 CGC qualified, missing an ad page, but looks really nice. Or a 1.0 complete, but looks like a rag. Book in question is FF5, first appearance of Doctor Doom. So again, this is a great question because I think for most people who are getting into collecting, especially the bigger books, you're kind of like wondering what to do, what you want to spend, how much you want to spend. You're looking at, how the book presents, and those are all valid things that you should be doing. For me personally, when it comes to Silver Age and newer books, so Silver Age till now, all my books I want complete, all my books I want non-restored, because there are a lot of copies out there of these Silver Age books. Of course, as you get later on, like Bronze, stuff like that, there are even more copies. So I want unrestored, complete books. I don't want to own something that completely looks like shit, that doesn't present as good as it should. But if that is your only avenue into collecting this book, this particular book, or any book for that matter, I want the 1.0 complete. I will always think there's someone else out there who says, you know what, that's the first appearance of Doctor Doom. That's a massive key, and this fits right into my budget, and it has everything there. It's not missing anything. That's just me. That's what I preference. I think that's always the better buy. Something that's incomplete, that's missing something, a lot of people, that's a deterrent to, including myself. So I think it's always harder to sell books that are missing ad pages, having coupons cut out. Look at Hulk 181. The value of that book is also significantly decreased, if you want to talk about that as well, value. But if you just want to own the book, buy what you can afford. But for me, if I had a choice for on the same grade, I would go with the 1.0 complete. But my better suggestion is this: keep saving money, try to get the best copy you can that fits in your budget without going over that budget. Hope that helps. Here's a question from James Moss 3424. What is the best 90s gimmick comic book in your collection? So I don't think I have any 90s gimmick comics right now. However, obviously the 90s comics is when I was growing up, so I collected a lot of those books, and there are a ton of those Copper Age books out there. So that's why, in my opinion, I've stayed away from most of those books, because I know there's just so many copies available for sale at any time, with the exception of a few books like ASM 300 or New Mutants 98, which you guys know I only want to own that in a 9.8 because of the volume of copies out there. But gimmick wise, I don't think I have anything 90s gimmick, but what I do have is I actually have some Garbage Pail Kids comic books that recently came out, some modern books. I like those books. I'm really, a fan of Garbage Pail Kids, so reading those books, seeing the artworks, something that I do have in my collection. So not really a 90s gimmick, but they are gimmick books that are current that I actually enjoy. Here's a question from Lee Neeran 3706. I have a question. What is the best way to store a comics long term? I have both long and short, plastic and cardboard, etc. Question is, should I put each book in the box having each face each other, or have them in sequential order back to back? In other words, I think what he's asking is like, should I put it like in facing order, like it's all facing me, like I think a lot of people do, or do I put them each comic cover facing each other and then keep switching them around so that two comics face each other and then the next two comics face each other? He actually says that he heard that someone else says this could protect the spine from rolling. Is that true? I've actually never heard of that, so I can't really answer that question. I face my comics in a box, just like all facing me in one direction. I do have a habit of like keeping them in order from, title name and then of course issue number. I'm just a little bit crazy like that. I just think it's easier to find books that I'm looking for. But as far as the spine roll goes, I never actually heard that having them face one another actually reduces the chance of them rolling in the future. Someone could comment down below if that is the case, if they store the books like this. For me, I store them like everybody else, all facing me so I can flip through them if I'm looking for a certain comic. But you guys know me, I like to display my stuff. I want to look at them. So a lot of my comics are, especially my Spidey books, are up there on my raw wall. I have some slabs in the background. Everything else is in short boxes that I have sitting right over here and in my closet. Now here's a great question from Tim Rierson 26. What comic book content do you regularly watch, listen to, or read to stay current on the current or future comic book market? That is a phenomenal question. So the first thing I'm going to say to you guys is this. Regarding YouTube content, I have to be entertained by the person that I'm watching. I hope for you guys at least that not only do I give some information to you, but I'm entertaining. I hope that's my goal, because that's what I really like to watch when I'm watching YouTube. Some people I always watch no matter when they put out videos is first and foremost Keston's old school comics. He does a phenomenal job of entertaining me and giving me information. Even when he does comic book hauls, some of the stuff that he's buying is stuff that you don't always see. So I really want to tune into his videos. Outside of him, guys like the Pressable Defects, they're local to my area. I find them very entertaining. I know a couple of met them a few times in the community, of course, at local shows. Erod 212 always does some great hauls. He goes all over the place, finding books. He does sales, stuff like that. But I used to watch when I first got back into the hobby, Comic Tom, Gem Mint. I don't really watch too much of them anymore because they've gone on and have done some other things. But whenever they put out something that I am interested in, they do a good job of entertaining. So I will always tune into a video that I'm interested in. Outside of that, I don't consistently watch really anyone. Every now and then I'll tune into a live stream that somebody's doing. But for me, how I find out about information is not only doing these videos, but like, the eBay comic sales to see what's sold recently for what kind of prices, especially looking on Instagram at all these vendors selling books. You can see what they're listing these books for. You can see what books have sold and at what prices. I think that's a great way to see what's selling right now, how many books are coming to market, what the prices that these books have sold for. I just think it's a great tool because of everything that's being posted. So if you're not a member of the IG community, I suggest you get on there. Even if you buy nothing, just post some of your books, follow some of these people, because it lets you know right now what's selling. Of course, I do the Hot 10 Comics of the Week breakdown to tell you what the Key Collector app is selling right now, what's hot. Fortunately, for the past 6 or 7 months, it's been a lot of the same books that are selling. A lot of Copper Age stuff. Those are the books that the dollar amounts I think fit their budget best. So that's what's moving in my opinion. But for me, a lot of the Silver Age books have come down to a point where I think that if you don't own these books and you want to own them, they're starting to become really good buys. Of course, some of the Golden Age stuff has really gotten hot, and there's not too many Golden Age things, me personally, that I want to buy, but other people, if you collect pre-code horror, I think some of those covers are absolutely phenomenal if you're not talking about investment stuff. Of course, some of the Good Girl and Bad Girl art, if that's your thing, you collect it. Superhero Golden Age is a little tough because it can be a little expensive. But other than that, that's where I go to find most of my inspiration for books that I'm looking for, or books that I'm trying to find out the value of. Of course, you guys know I use GPA as well. So other than that, those are the people I really watch in this community. People who are entertaining. Love you guys. Back-to-back questions from Tim Rearson.
My nigga.
What books are on your current want list for the rest of this year or 2024 that are reasonable targets based on your budget? So appreciate the question, Tim. If you watch my channel, you guys know that I'm not really looking for much to collect right now. I think I have most of the things that I want, but you guys know I'm trying to finish my ASM run. So that is my focus as of right now. I did get some books from some people. I want to thank John Rowe for sending me 5 books for that run. I really appreciate you, buddy. And I actually ended up just picking up another 4 books from somebody else on Instagram. I think I'm about 20 away right now from completing my run 1 to 301, so I'm almost there. That has been my focus. Outside of that, if you're a channel member, you know the one book that I'm really looking to buy right now. So guys, you're interested, hit that membership button. I have 2 versions, a $1.99 version, and of course the $4.99 a month version, which you guys are my mighty mafia. I'm telling you guys right now. Outside of that book and completing my ASM run, I'm not really looking for anything else right now. But what I may do is maybe put together, I did this in the past, I may take a dollar amount and say, what are those books for that dollar amount? Maybe give you a top 5 for that dollar amount that I think are worth buying right now or possibly in the future. Let me know if you like that idea or not. Comment down below. The trifecta here from my boy Tim. If you had $10,000 to spend right now, would you invest it in a Silver Age or Golden Age book? Golden Age seems to be all the rage right now, but I worry it is overheating. Your thoughts? So this is a great question, and I'm actually leaning to go with you here. I think that if you're looking at Golden Age books right now, you're starting to see a lot more go up for sale on Instagram. I was at New York Comic Con this past week and a half ago, and there were a ton more golden books there this year than they were last year. So yes, Golden Age is all the rage right now, but that doesn't mean you should go out and buy it. I'm saying this from the beginning that there's only a few Golden Age books, in my opinion, the expensive ones that I want to own. There are minor first appearances in the Golden Age that are very, very expensive. But if you look and go back over time, some of those minor keys and those minor first appearances, they may not be appreciating in value as much as you think. Obviously, the massive first appearances like Batman's and Superman's and the first in their own titles, those books are always going to be huge. So if you're looking at to buy a book for that amount of money, there are some great Silver Age deals right now. My top of the list is AF-15. Now, I know you're not getting one for 10 grand, but maybe Incredible Hulk #1. I know there's like a couple of 1.0s that I think are around that price range right now. That to me is still a great buy. It has come down only a little bit over the past couple of years, if not in some grades, still going up. So I absolutely love those 2 books, AF-15 or Incredible Hulk #1. But I do think you have to have an attachment to these characters in order to spend that kind of money. It's a lot of money to ask somebody to spend on a comic book. So if you have an attachment to any of those characters in the Silver Age, I think those are better buys right now. So for 10 grand, I'd want to own some of those books over some of the Golden Age books that are selling for around 10 grand right now. There was, like I was pointing out, there was an Action Comics number 23, first appearance of Lex Luthor, over at New York Comic Con that I was thinking about. It was roughly 6 grand because it was missing something out of the back cover, but normally that book will sell for about 10 grand. But yes, how many people out there are looking for the first appearance of Lex Luthor? It's a massive key. I'm not saying it's not. I definitely would want to own it, but I think a lot of more people out there would want to own Incredible Hulk number 1 or an AF-15. Always buy something that's loved. That's my opinion if you're just worried about money, because more people love Spider-Man, I think, as opposed to the Incredible Hulk. It's maybe a toss-up. If it was the first appearance of Superman or the Hulk, obviously Superman's a bigger deal. It's worth a lot more money, but first appearance of Incredible Hulk, I think for 10 grand is a really good deal over the next 20 years. So I'm sticking to Silver Age on this one. I do think Golden Age is a little bit overhyped at this point, unless it's some of the bigger keys. Here's a question from Sean Henry 4752. I have a comic signed by Stan Lee and Todd McFarlane that I had signed at a Comic-Con in the 1990s. I have a picture of me with Stan Lee with the comic in it. Can I get this graded with the signatures? Sure, the short answer is yes, you can get anything graded as far as comic books go. However, if you want a yellow label from CGC, they will have to witness that signature. So yes, you can get it graded, but it won't be witnessed by CGC. And if you want that yellow label, it will not be there. It will just say Stan Lee and Todd McFarlane written on wherever it's written. It will either come back a qualified green label, or you can request a blue label. It may be a lower grade with that fact, but a lot of the times I've seen them come back with the same grade that the actual book is with those notations on it. Now, however, if you do want to send it to CBCS, they do verify signatures, and they will give you the choice of I think a yellow label or a red label. Now with the new labels, I think it's just going to be yellow, but I have not yet confirmed that. But you can have them verified and get that yellow label from CBCS, but from CGC, it will only be a blue or a green label. But in my opinion, depending on the book, you may just not want to send that thing in. If it's a big book that you want to have graded 100%, go ahead, choose the company that you think it's worth doing it with. Here's a question from Henry Hermelin 1620. I do own an FF5, wondering if you feel it will get back to last year's levels. Really was hit hard these past 18 months, so let me just say yes, I know this book has been crushed. I do own an FF5 in a CGC 2.0 signed by Stan Lee, and even I'm taking a dump on that book, but I'm going to say this, I'm going to go back to the character in Doctor Doom. I always say he's the biggest Marvel villain there is, and eventually they are going to use him in the MCU. He's too big of a character not to be used. However, I'm going to throw up a chart here of a CGC 2.5 according to GPA. The book has dropped about 33% over the past couple of years. It's a long-term book, a major Silver Age key. I would say it's a top 10, if not a top 5 Silver Age key out there in my opinion. I do want to own the book regardless. If you're not married to the character and you want to sell it and take a loss, be my guest. But for me, in 20 years, do I think the book's going to go up? Yes. If you're looking at 5 years down the road, I don't really think many books are going to go up in value in 5 years. If you go back and look at the history that we had over a 20-year period from, like, let's say, the 1980s to the 2000s, or the 2000s to 2020s, we had a lot of plateaus. There's been steady growth, which is what you want to see in investments, in my opinion. But this one, it's going to take a while before we get back to those levels. If you're willing to hold on, yes, I do think the book is going to go up in value. No questions asked. It's a major Marvel key, a major Silver Age book. And I always say this, according to Marvel keys, Incredible Hulk is the scarcest. And I think this is number 2 or 3 on that scarcest list. The numbers have gone up a bit with all the, FF news that have come out. But it's a book I always want to own. If you could buy it and you can hang on, I would definitely hang on to this book. And if you haven't owned it yet, it's a book I'd definitely be looking to target if you want to own these Silver Age books. And the last question this week is from Brian Norman 952. Hey, so do you see anything turning around as far as the 60s, 70s, and 80s Marvel mags? I absolutely love them and have a ton. These are all had top shelf artists and covers. Epics Illustrated, Dracula Lives, Vampire Tales, Planet of the Apes, Deadly Hands of Kung Fu, Conan, Creepy, Eerie. Everyone has the excuse they are hard to store. I have a ton and they fit on my comic shelves just fine. LOL. Anyway, love the channel. So again, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Some of the art on these books is absolutely amazing. And I know there are a few first appearances, some of these mags as well. So if you like collecting them, please continue to do so. Don't worry about the monetary value of these things. Collecting books sometimes is not about money. It's just about what you love. And as long as you love doing it, keep doing it. However, if we're talking about value, I just think there's better ways in the community to spend your money, and I think that's what a lot of people are focused on: collectability and increased value over the long term. So what the short answer is, no, they may go up a little bit, but I don't think they're ever going to be the investment some of these other comics are. So I think that's why they don't get collected a lot. However, I do think they're awesome. I do think some of the artwork is phenomenal, and you should keep collecting them if you enjoy doing so, and that's what really matters. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. A lot of great questions from everyone out there in the community. So if you have any more, do me a favor, drop the comments down below. I will do another future video answering any and all questions you guys might have. Lastly, before I end this video, I want to give a big shout out to the members of the channel. You guys are my mighty mafia. If you guys want to be a member of the mafia, like I said, click that membership button, because you guys know all the proceeds from that go to these giveaways that we do every 1,000 subs. So hope you enjoyed the video. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.